we will get you kicked off if you're ready to count this down whenever.
Hello, everybody. Are we live? Can you hear me? So welcome everybody to Legend of Heroes Trails from Zero. This run is a fan translation of the Zero no Kiseki game by Falcom. The Geofront team did a wonderful job of translating this and added so much to it, and by doing so, made this run about 2.5 hours faster for us. So, I've got a lot of very fun things planned for this run, and I hope you guys will all enjoy it. Alright, so, if we're all set, without further ado, I think we can go ahead and get started. I'll do a countdown. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. So here we are in the final dungeon. Good job, guys. We already got to the end of the game. We did it. We're at the end of the run. This final dungeon is going to take 2 hours. Just kidding, we're back at the start. So, the first question I saw is, what is Modified Turbo? Modified Turbo means I'll be using Turbo in cutscenes and in battles, but I won't be using them on the field map to run around with. That's for multiple reasons. First, I don't enjoy that as a category. And second, it makes the run incredibly difficult to follow. So we start off the run, we're about to become a police officer, and we're going to meet our fellow cops and get introduced to them all very quickly. And, you know, instead of classroom training, our first task is to go into this dungeon underneath our city called the Geofront, and rescue some kids, because that's totally a job you trust, completely green cops to do. So the Geofront added a lot of things to this patch. Most notably, casually, is chest quotes, where all the chests have some sort of line after them. If you check them a second time, that's humorous or a pun in some way. There's a few lines throughout the run that we'll be reading because they're hilarious. So the first bit of tech that you just saw me do there for speedrunning this game is sort of an animation skip that allows you to get away from enemies a lot easier. You can attack enemies on the field map to stun them temporarily, and if you hit them from behind, you stun them longer. And you can also change who's in the leadership position of your party. And if you attack and swap very shortly after, you can sort of skip the animation while still getting the effect of the attack. And that allows you to run away from enemies a lot quicker and get into a lot less encounters overall. You'll see me do it here. Oh, didn't get it. Sometimes enemies just decide not to stop, which is really annoying. So a lot of this run is setting up in very specific formations to have the best bit of luck we possibly can for fights. Okay, we got really awkward turn order here, so hopefully we'll be okay. Alright, we are not okay. Alright, so even though this category is glitchless, it looks like I'm going to get to show off a glitch right at the start of the run. Because we got unlucky here. with that one slime going after the kid in the back. So this is a PC version exclusive glitch. We're going to do it just to show it off, and also to not lose this fight. So what I did there is you can actually use the keyboard, or use your mouse, to select an S-craft when you only have the CP to use a normal craft. And that basically bailed me out on that fight and made it so I didn't get a game over. Because if I hadn't done that, the kid in the back would have died. Essentially what crafts are your special attacks, more or less. They use craft points which you build by taking damage and dealing damage. And then you have S-crafts, which are basically your ultimate attack, and they cost either 100 or 200 of your CP. But using that glitch, you can actually use it when you only have like 20 or 30. So here we're gonna have some chat time with all of our party members and find out that, hey, they all are down with doing this whole police gig, and Lloyd's moral conscience is like, okay, I'll do it too. So here we have to go through the tutorial of how to be police. Basically, throughout the game, we'll be getting requests from this computer, and then we just have to go and complete the requests. And the first request you get is learn how to use shops, and learn how to move around Crossbell and how things work. So there we talk to the weapon shop owner to learn how weapons work. You hit stuff with them, and you do damage. That's basically how weapons work. Here we get introduced to the orbment system, or, well, we were supposed to, but we kind of glossed over it and didn't actually talk to her. But the orbment system is basically a second form of equipment you get in this game, where you can boost your stats with it. And depending on the type of quartz, which are more or less what you slot into this equipment system, they come with different values. And by tallying up those values, you'll be gaining access to magic. For example, the attack 1 quartz that you get is a red quartz, and it has a value of 1 red, because it's a very base quartz. 1 red unlocks the spells Firebolt and Forte, which is strength buff. We won't really be using these, but essentially stacking up more colors and more quartz gives you access to more magic, as well as the stat bonuses from the quartz. What I just did a moment ago was I went and rested in the inn, because we are very sleepy in this run. We are constantly going to be taking naps, sometimes even twice, and even the most dire of crises will not prevent us from napping. And that's because napping restores 100 of your CP and allows you to use those S-crafts I was talking about, which is basically how we do all of our damage in this run. So now that we've learned how to be police officers, we're going to come back to the terminal and learn how to report our quests by hitting the Report Quest button. And then we get more requests, and the only required request we have to do is go back into that dungeon and kill Batman if he were really, really fat. So back into the dungeon we go. So despite me using a glitch earlier, this is still the glitchless category of the run, because that was a little bit off script, if you will. The major glitch in this game is if there is a sprite that has collision. So think doors, barriers, just things that aren't like solid walls. You can use a trick by saving, returning to the title, and loading to basically clip yourself through any of those sprites. And what that allows you to do is get to level 50 at the point of the game I'm at right now, and 50 is capped level. And it also allows you to get into the final dungeon about an hour and a half earlier than I do. It essentially skips half the run. Alright, that guy's a jerk. So again, I was talking about formations earlier. We're going to do another formation here to make sure I'm set up to do this boss fight properly. And here's Batman. He's had a bad day after his butler left him. Gone completely out of control. So we're going to use a bunch of magic on him, and then we're going to use Randy's S-Break to take care of all these ads. And let all the magic go off. And then we're going to finish them off with, hopefully, these 2 S-Breaks. Okay, cool. Good fight. Unfortunately, we can't go to the final dungeon in the first minute, even though we can skip through sprites, because we can't skip through solid things, and we also can't skip through loading triggers. And the way a lot of Falcom works is they put the loading triggers attached to the cutscenes. So, like, until I'm actually allowed to leave Crossbell, I will get stopped by a loading trigger cutscene that says, hey, you can't leave. So we're going to take another nap, because we need more CP again. And we have a fight coming up, so we're going to also edit our formation. We're going to put Tio in the top right corner, and that's a very good spot for her, because it allows her S-Break to hit a lot of things. Kind of like this. If she's not in that top corner, you can't hit all 4 of those guys with her S-Break, and it takes a lot longer to do that fight. So throughout the game, you'll see me doing dialogue options. That may not seem fast, but it actually is fast. Because when you do correct dialogue choices, you get bonus ranking points. And we need a certain amount of those ranking points in order to get some of the rewards from having those points. And in order to continue the run, we have to have enough of those points to get what we need in time. So what I just did there was our first quartz menu. Basically what I did was I took the HP 1 water quartz off of Tio and gave it to Lloyd, because Lloyd needs water quartz for this battle, so he has the tier spell. This battle is supposed to be a one-on-one with this gangster leader, Wald. He's just gonna bully us, and we're okay with that because we can heal ourselves. And this is way faster than actually trying to kill him, because he's very strong. So we're just gonna let him bully us for a little bit. Or just stand here. Alright, we got bullied. So that fight ends after a specific number of turns, which is why, and we just couldn't kill him in that number of turns, even if we were trying. So it's better to just not try to kill him and just eat all the attacks and waste out the turns. So here we talk to Grace. She's a reporter and a recurring character. in this game. She's not really going to do a whole lot for us at any point, but basically a lot of this game is story is detective work, so talking to a reporter who sticks her nose into business that's not really her own is usually a good source of information for the team. So we're trying to figure out why the two gang mobs in the downtown district are at each other's throats all of a sudden. And we're going around, we're talking to Grace, we're going to talk to a lawyer in a second, we're talking to our chief. We're just trying to figure out what's going on and why tensions are so high. Here we make a slight detour to pick up that Eagle Eye Quartz. Eagle Eye is a space quartz, which is a pretty rare type of quartz to begin with, and it also has the unique effect of letting us see monsters on the field map. Which, back when I ran the PSP version, there was no map, because emulator was bad. So it didn't really help in any way, but on the better working PC ports, it's actually a pretty helpful thing to have. So we got some information from the lawyer, and now we're just going to have a discussion. And we're going to make up a plan to catch the real culprits of the two gangs trying to kill each other. Which is the Mafia. So this fight's pretty simple. We're going to start seeing the use of the burn status effect here. Burn does a very heavy percent damage, so even though we're really weak still, we're going to be doing a ton of damage to these idiots because they're burned. And Randy's S-Break actually has a 100% burn rate, so it's very nice for dealing a lot of damage. Alright, so we're out of the prologue. So, if you saw for a brief moment there some familiar characters from the Sky game, we'll be seeing more of them throughout the run, and a lot more of them at the end of the run. But I won't spoil. The burn status effect is what the glitched run uses to grind to level 50. Basically, they clip themselves into the New Game Plus area of the game where everything is, like, absurdly high level. And they use burn, since it deals percent damage, to kill them, while delaying them infinitely so they never... or after sealing them so they can't actually attack the party. So there we opened some slots and made a Mind 1 quartz. Opening slots allows you to put in more quartz, so it's pretty good to open your slots. We don't actually do a whole lot of that in this run. Ellie, I'm pretty sure, never opens another slot, and then Randy only gets one slot open for the entire run. We open most of Lloyd's and pretty much all of Tio's because we use them more. So we're going to take another nap real quick to get our CP back. It was a flash there, but the route in this game is very precise with early game money. If you have to do anything extra, you're basically in a bad spot, because I went down to exactly 0 money there after buying some weapons and doing the in-rest. So now we have a pretty relaxing walk to the next area. We've been told by the police that there have been some wolf sightings throughout the country, I guess you would call it. It's kind of the province, the territory, I don't really know. It's not a country, but the area. And they've been terrorizing some of the villages and the hospitals and, you know, bad stuff. So we're looking into it because, you know, again, we're totally doing police matters. State, right, yeah, state works. Crossbell state. Oh my god, we got the shiny palm spawn. That's so rude. So, I'll be talking more about them later, but the shining palms in this game are about a 10% chance to spawn, and we had one spawn right there. And, I mean, that's kind of a good omen, but at the same time, there goes my RNG when I actually need the palm to spawn. But either way, we're just gonna head up these roads for a little while, and we're gonna pick up some chests along the way. The chests are gonna have an item called, some of the chests are gonna have Sepith in them. What Sepith is for is basically opening those slots and making quartz. So, Sepith is essentially how you scale up your orbments, which is your quartz setup, and how you open slots to be able to use more quartz. The main purpose of Sepith in this run, however, is for money, because you can also sell them for a lot of money. And we will be doing so a lot throughout the run, because we don't get enough money from, you know, only doing the main story quests, because, you know, main story quests don't give you money, which is rude. Yeah, that's correct. Having more slots open also gives you more base EP, which is basically that blue mana bar, if you will. Oh, you jerk. So, if an enemy is too close to a chest in this game, you can't open the chest, which is what happened there. So I had to draw out the enemy, and then, run around and get the chest. And I used that stun animation swap I was talking about earlier in order to do that. So we're going to do this monster chest here. This monster chest has an attack 2 in it, which is a pretty useful quartz, because it lets you do more damage. Well, no. We meme the fish, but bandanas are definitely a meme too. If you just know it as bandana, that's technically wrong. What the meme is Ori no bandana, which means it's my turn, and pretty much the characters will just keep saying that because that's what they say when their turn comes up. In the Falcon Marathon we held 2 years ago, through 0 Al and Cold Steel 1 alone, we were at like 400 Ori no Bandanas. So this is the first chest we're gonna lead. You're really gonna take that EP cut 1? Haven't the Almaracians been through enough? So that chest contains an EP cut 1, and we're basically stealing it from their storehouse without them knowing. After they've been attacked from wolves and their livelihood is going down the drain. So, you know, we're the good guys, I promise. So, this is a scenario where we have to gather information around this village. Falcon likes to do plot triggers like this in 2 ways, usually. First is the classic talk to everyone, but in this scenario, it's a classic talk to a few people. Talk to very specific people. So here we're going to sell my Sepith, like I was talking about earlier. We're going to buy some straw hats because we like to be fashionable. And we're going to buy to 26 battle scopes. Which you might be like, why are you buying the most useless item in the game? And the reason we buy the most useless item in the game is so that we can get overleveled very quickly. So we're just going to finish up here talking to the few people we need to. And even though we're on the middle of an investigation, this is the perfect time to take a double nap. Because you gotta take naps every once in a while. We had that whole long walk up here, and we're not gonna take 2 naps after it? Like, come on. I promise we're not lazy. So now that we've talked to the very specific few people we need to, we can head back to the city. But we're late for the bus. So this guy with purple hair, who's totally not suspicious or memorable in any way, is going to give us a ride. So after we get a ride from him, we unlock fast travel. So basically he becomes our taxi. So now we can fast travel around Crossbell City, which makes things very quick. You'll see me throughout the run fast traveling to one place and then immediately fast traveling to somewhere else. I'll point out when that happens, but the reason I'm doing that is to affect my starting position when I enter the district I actually want to be in. And doing that will cut down on my movement a little bit. So here we're going to do a refinement on Tio's weapon to give it a little bit of extra ATS. Basically what all that means is we're going to upgrade her weapon so that it has a little more magic attack on it. Because we're coming up to a very not fun part of the run. We're coming up to the part of the run where there's a reason why I have my estimate being 20 minutes higher than my PB. Oops. So here, you're not allowed to take the bus, but you actually have to talk to the bus stop anyways to trigger this cutscene. So now we're headed down to the hospital in this game, or the medical college rather, because wolves were sighted there and attacked, so we need to go investigate the scene of the crime. And on the way, we're going to fight some monkeys, and the monkeys are rude, but I actually learned on a practice run the other day that these monkeys, if you end up missing one of them with your attack, it can actually be run over for a really dumb reason. So we're going to use a delay strategy here, which means we're going to speed down these nerds so that they don't get turned a whole lot. And then we're going to use Randy's Power Smash, which inflicts delay, which means it basically pushes them back in the turn order, and that stacks with speed down. So we're basically going to never let these guys get a turn. And slowly beat them to death. Tio's going to analyze them because that lowers their defense. And, you know, lowering defenses is good because you do more damage. Team rushes are something I'll explain a little bit later when we actually need them. Just think of it as a way to do a lot more damage than you normally would for right now. Alright, so now that they're all defense down, we do have an S-break coming up. That's really good. Alright, that was a good fight. So what happens if you miss one of those guys is, what will happen is, they'll possibly summon an ad, and if you get that ad summoned, and you have to kill it, and that messes with your experience value, which makes the next strat not work. Also, we're not strong enough to fight 2 monkeys, so, Estelle and Joshua from the Trails in the Sky games had to make a cameo and save us. We'll be seeing a lot of them throughout the game. There's some really cool mechanics with those two throughout the entire game casually. So now we're coming up to the worst strat in the entire run, and I hate it. It's probably a speedrunner's worst nightmare, and I'll explain why. So, I mentioned Shining Palms earlier. Shining Palms are basically metal slimes. They run away from battle immediately when you enter it, most of the time. They're a 1 in 10 or so to spawn, and every time they don't spawn, you're going to lose about 5 seconds checking for the spawn. So, part 1 of what I'm about to do is getting the palm to spawn. Part 2 is setting up an encounter with it, where I ambush the palm, and then I also have a mob following me to get me into a follow-up encounter. And this is incredibly skill-based and RNG-based, and it's very difficult. Okay, we got first try palm spawn, so that's really good. So basically what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to get a mob chasing me here, and then I'm going to stun the palm from behind and try to get an encounter with it at a good time. Alright, you notice me. Bam? Hello? Okay, you. Alright, that did not work. We're just gonna reload. Alright, this setup should work. Alright, I got the 2 battle chain. So now step 3 is these palms have 4 different formations. 1 palm, 2 palm, 3 palm, 4 palm. I need a 4 palm formation, which is about a 1 in 20 chance to spawn. And if I don't get it, I have to run from the encounter and reload the game. Step 4 is killing the palm encounter, which, the RNG doesn't end, is a damage roll. It's a favorable damage roll, but if you miss 2 of them, you lose a lot of time. Or you have to re-roll the encounter and try to get another 4 encounter and not lose the damage rolls. So this right here is why the estimate is so high, is because this can take a long time. It's basically make or break if you PB a run, whether or not you get this trick fast. But this is why this game is an awful nightmare to speedrun Glitchless, because you have to deal with this palm crap. Alright, there we go. Alright, so this is the encounter. We're gonna ATS up Tio and S-break with her, and pray it kills everything. Oh! Okay, whoops. I messed up big time. I didn't rest twice, so I have to do all of this again. Oops! I forgot to take a double nap. I only took a single nap. That sucks. This is why the estimate's high. Because if you mess up the hardest trick in the game, then you mess up the hardest trick in the game. Alright, so we're back to step 1 of getting the palm to spawn. So what I'll be doing is running a certain distance into the map, and then checking the map to see if the blip on the map is there for the palm. And luckily it didn't take too long to appear this time. So now I'm gonna reset up my save here. Okay, you're in a much better spot. What? What? Excuse? Sir? That's not how collision works. Alright. That should be a setup that works. So now it's just back to getting the 4 palm encounter. So basically what I'm doing here is when I load the game, the enemies don't have collision yet, so I can kind of just stand on top of the bomb. So even if this mob that is chasing me comes and, like, actually collides with me, I'm gonna get the palm encounter because I'm standing right on top of it. And for whatever reason, that takes precedence. You'll see in step 5 of this program why I need the follow-up encounter. Basically, we need, in essence, I'll explain it more in detail, but we're gonna break the EXP cap of the game. Okay, we got the encounter. Alright, so now we hope we don't get a damage roll. Looks good. Excellent. Oh my god, that's so bad. Uh-oh. Yes. Yeah. This. Okay, so now we have this mob here. And we've slowed him down, and we've delayed him a lot. And we're going to keep delaying him, and now we're going to toss a bunch of battle scopes. Every 3 battle scopes I use, I'm going to get a 0.1 experience modifier. And we're going to stack that up 9 times, which is why we needed 27 total item uses. 26 battle scopes, and then that food item I used at the start of the fight. The other bonus we're going to be stacking up here, this is fine, okay, is called 7 Rush. For every 7 turns you get in a row, you'll get a experience modifier of 0.1. We're going to stack that up 7 times. And it's probably going to be 8 times because it's a marathon run and I want to be safe. I believe we're at 2. So we're going to just use all these battle scopes. Because this guy is just so delayed now, he's never going to get another turn. Alright, so that's 3. Alright. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. And then we're going to kill the mob. That gets us a multiplier of 3.35 times, which breaks the EXP cap and gives us 20,000 experience. So we just went from level 6 to level 36 in one fight. Keep in mind, the level cap to the game is level 50. Well, the 3.35 doesn't break the XP cap, it just gets you high enough experience. Basically, the EXP in this game for a single fight should cap out at 9,999 at base, but then you can use the modifier to get even higher than that, which is what we just did there. So now we have to do some hospital investigation here. But yeah, basically level 36 is the level the game expects you to be for the semi-final dungeon of the game. And we're in the very beginning of the game, and we're that high level. We got 0 field and didn't set it because we don't need to set it. We want Tio doing damage for the majority of the game. We're only going to be using 0 field on the final boss. The base experience is close to 9999, but not quite. Because we only got 20,000, but that's still like a base of like 7,000 XP. The glitched run does that same strategy, but does it with a higher level monsters, so the base is 9,999. And then they just kill it with burn after getting the modifiers, and they get to like level 50. I think you do 2 fights in Glitched, where the first one you get to the 30s, and then the second one you get to 50. This run is done on normal mode. The original system for this game is PC and PSP. Yeah, Shane would murder you in the dungeon, probably. So we figured out how the wolves got into the hospital, and we told the hospital, hey, move these boxes that they're using to get to your patients. And they're like, oh, well, that makes sense. So there we meet Shizuku, which is one of the character's daughters in this game. We don't really deal with much of that in this run or game, so we're kind of just going to gloss over that. But she's important. She has a face. So here I'm going to do Wolf is the glitch runner for this game, and I'm about to do him a dirty. Because he has a different way of doing this next part, and most of the rest of the game than I do. So if your level is 10 levels higher than the average level of the encounter you hit on the field map, if you hit them twice, you'll instantly destroy them and get Sepith for the encounter, or a small amount of Sepith from the encounter, without actually having to clear it. Dewolf likes to use Lloyd for that, because Lloyd technically has a faster animation. But I prefer to use Tio, because Tio's attack can double hit an enemy if you position it correctly, and instantaneously delete them. Tio's attack animation is just as fast as 2 Lloyd swings. Like, they're the exact same number of frames. So you're not losing time unless you have to swing Tio's staff multiple times. But Tio has the added benefit of being able to hit things from a much farther range than Lloyd, which I think is faster because you're not doing as much movement then. But at the end of the day, it comes out to frames worth of saving, and like, it's not really... one of them isn't distinctly faster. It's really what you prefer. I just prefer Tio because I'm a lot more used to her. Because you have to use Tio to do this in the second game. So the reason we're doing it is to get that Sepith I was talking about. And Sepith is more or less all of our money resources for the run. If we weren't doing these and getting these pot shots of like 1 or 2 Sepith per hit, we wouldn't have enough money for the run. I mean, why do you need it as the lead character if you just memorize where all the mobs are? Well, I mean, I guess there is Turbo. but, I mean, I'm more referring to no turbo. But I can definitely understand using Lloyd with Eagle Eye is better with turbo movement. But I mean, we were having this debate back when we ran on PSP, so, you know. What's turbo? Turbo is basically a modifier in this game that I can hold down a trigger, and the game will run 6 times faster. I don't use it on the field map because this is modified turbo, which bans that. Because it's a much better run in general. Like, it's a lot easier to follow, and it's just a lot more fun to play. In my opinion as well, because your movement actually matters. Even though I've not really been putting much attention on my movement because I've been focused on a lot more on commentary than watching my movement, and that's probably why I'm really far behind my splits. But that's fine. Yeah, look at this speedrunner actually having fun. How dare I? However, I do use turbo on cutscenes and battles to make them go faster. Unfortunately, most of the battles from this point until the end of the game are kind of boring, because now that we're absurdly high level, our S-brakes kind of just murder everything. Pick up another Sepith chest here. Oi. Oi! Alright, that guy has earned his freedom. He gets to live. He ran for his life and he actually got it, so I'm gonna let him live. That's my decision. So here we've arrived at Maine's Mountain Mining Village. This is the third site that was attacked by the wolves, so we're here to investigate. Unfortunately, unlike the first village we went to, this is a scenario where we just have to talk to everyone to advance the plot. But we get some very relaxing music to do it too. I know the improved owl patch was linked to on the subreddit, Falcom subreddit, but they did take some from Geofront without crediting them, which is kind of iffy. A little bit of sketch. So here, we're going to take a nap. Because Ellie was out of CP, because sometimes you don't need to nap there, most of the time you do, because you want to use Ellie's S-Craft on that palm fight to survive that follow-up encounter. Because I got worst RNG with there being 4 of the mobs, but like, they explode when they die and they do a lot of damage to you, so if you don't use it there, you can actually wipe if you don't get the setup fast enough. Alright, so now that we've talked to everyone, the mayor's going to be done talking with the Mafia, because, you know, they were talking to the Mafia for whatever reason. Being threatened by the Mafia, more like it. And now we're going to do detective work. and do a bunch of dialogue choices. 2, 3, 1, 4. Shizuku. And then we talk to table. So here, this fight, we're going to move, your position is kind of forced. We're going to move Randy and Lloyd into the center, and this is going to attract all of the mobs straight to them. And then we're going to kill them. But it's not enough. We have another fight. Nice, I got a Sept Up for it, though. That's really good. Getting Sept Ups in fights, you would ideally want to get 2 of them throughout the course of the run before Chapter 4. Or else you're just going to have a little bit more painful on money. The more Sept Ups you get, the more you can, like, kind of skip and just skip and not worry about attacking mobs on the field. So now we're going to head into Chapter 2, and Chapter 2 focuses on the traveling troupe Arkansas, which is a big deal. You hear them mentioned a lot through the Cold Steel games and also in this game, since we directly deal with them. So here we're going to sell Earth Sepith, and Space Sepith, and Mirage Sepith, get some money. We're gonna buy Ellie's weapon, and Randy's weapon. And now that we've been to almost everywhere, we can start using the bus to fast travel to places. So here we're going to switch our main to Lloyd, because we want to just... We're not going to be able to field kill these next encounters, because we actually have to fight them. We're going to be aiming for that Team Rush bonus I was talking about. Team Rush bonus is basically an all-out attack, where all of your party members will hit all of the enemies involved, and do a normal attack's worth of damage. So it's just a very quick way, now that we're absurdly high level, in order to kill things quickly. And you've got like an 80% chance to get a Team Rush bonus at the start of a ambush fight in this game. So we're going to be ambushing all of these next mobs and hoping we get a Team Rush to take care of them quickly. We're also going to be using Randy's S-Break consecutively and using Lloyd's Brave Smash to just delete things. Alright, there's my Team Rush. I want that. It's gonna be worth the time loss to get that instant. So what you just saw there, we're basically gonna repeat that like 5 times on all of these fights. As long as we have a Team Rush. If we don't get a Team Rush, then we have to run away. So we're going to be using a combination of Randy's Warcry and Ellie's Holy Bullet in order to get Randy back to 100 CP on every fight. Holy Bullet gives 20 CP, and we're going to be using it on him twice. And we're going to use Warcry, which gives him 60 CP. This is awkward. Thank you. He's one away, dude. Feels bad, man. Oh, that was Lloyd's break. Crap. Alright, well, this is fine. Yeah, Geofront released this patch early this spring, and it is absolutely phenomenal. Alright, so I don't actually need the team rush here, but since we don't actually have Lloyd's break, we're going to just play this safe and use it. Alright. So those were some easy plot fights, because, you know, we're 30 levels over-leveled. So now we're going to head back to Crossbell, and we're going to meet a rather interesting character named Risha. She's awesome, and she's a party member in the late game of the next game. She's absolutely phenomenal. But she's a little bit special in this game, because she's just part one of the dancers to the Arkansas troupe. But before we go help out with their problems, we're going to take another nap. We're going to take a fancy nap this time. If you rest in that hotel I just did there, it actually restores 200 CP instead of 100. So, instead of having to take 2 naps, we just take one really big fancy one. So here we meet Ilya as well, who's another dancer of the Arkansas troupe. She's basically the head dancer. And, turns out she got a threat letter from some random person. And we soon learn that that person who sent her the threat letter is a master assassin. So it's kind of a big deal. So right there was the first instance of me going to a different area first to edit my start position. I went to Residential Street and then West Street. If I had gone straight to West Street first, I would have spawned over at a different entrance. And it would have taken me a lot of time to run over to the lawyer's office. I just did it again there, where I went to the administrative and then to the harbor, so I could be closer to this building right here. So I'm actually going to make a save here. That's for later if we have time after the run. I can show you that glitch I was talking about and glitch into a really funny room. So for some reason during this story, you get locked out of being able to fast travel from place to place. This is one of those instances, so we actually just have to walk back to our apartment building, like scrubs. So during this chapter, Ellie's been having a bit of a moral crisis because she has this job as a police enforcer, but she's also next in line to take over as mayor for the town, and she doesn't know what to do. So Lloyd and her have a bit of a heart-to-heart right there. So even though there's threats going on, we still have other jobs as actual police. And this next job is, we've noticed somebody's been hacking into the internet, which is brand new. And Crossbell isn't really good at making laws, so hacking into the internet and stealing companies' and businesses' private information is actually not illegal. But, you know, it's not good. It's not good. So we're investigating who's doing it, and we're gonna put a stop to it. So during this part, there's a really cool like hacker sequence that you get to watch casually, but it's gonna last about 2 frames. Oh no, wait, no, it's not quite yet. Never mind. There's gonna be a really cool hacker sequence later on, and we're gonna see about 2 frames of it due to speed up in turbo. So I'm sorry, everyone. So we figured out that the hacker is residing in the Geofront, which is that whole maze of labyrinths and dungeons that, you know, has bottomless pits and whatever the heck it has just under this city. This city is literally held up by nothing. Just bottomless pits are under it. I don't know how it makes sense, but, you know, you can see these bottomless pits. This is under the city. This Geofront and these bottomless pits are what's holding up the entire city. And I don't really understand it. But here we are in another section of the Geofront. So here we're going to make a pretty beefy detour for that 7th chest, but that 7th chest is a lot of money. So that's why we actually go out of the way to pick it up. Oi. Sometimes things just don't want to die. Which is why Duel prefers Lloyd, is because if Lloyd hits it, usually it's gonna die. Tio sometimes, you know, messes up, but I still prefer using her. That guy was just fearless. Punishment. Personally, I think nothing outdoes Falcon music. The only thing that's come close, in my opinion, is Gust music. Because Gust has really good music, too. Also, the thing with that Falcon music is it's all so readily available on Amazon, too. Like, it's all just, like, I mean, I guess I'm still one of those old folks who still buys music, but, you know. And, like, I don't use Spotify. I just listen to raw tracks. So I actually buy the OSTs and the CDs. I guess I'm old, but... So this fight is just S-Craft the thing, because it's not very strong. Easy fight. Yeah, I know the OSTs are on Spotify too, but yeah, I don't use radio services like that. Also Twitch caps. I apologize for the Twitch caps. So we figured out the guy who was the hacker man was Tio's ex-boyfriend, Jonah. And not actually her ex-boyfriend, but just somebody she knows from the institute that she is representing. Oh my gosh. Alright, so that was a bit of just D-pad not working. But we got to this hotel. That's where we were trying to go. But yeah, he's basically Tio, but a male, and not as smart, and not as cute, and not as nice, and just literally every facet of existence that he could possibly be worse in, he is, compared to Tio. So, here we're going to be going out of our way again for a chest. If you try to use my notes for this section of the run, you might have a bad time. Because I make notes based off, what works for me. And instead of describing the location of this chest, I learned the game after this, Aono Kazeki, first. So I just wrote down, grab chest where Mars Bell is. And this chest has a Mars Bell in Ao, and we get that in the speedrun as well, so that's just how I know this chest. Also, this is the next chest line we're going to read. Oh, great. I'm going to stay like this forever, aren't I? So, in JRPGs, and RPGs in general, we're always opening chests, but does anybody ever give any thought to them just having to be open for the rest of their life now? Like, nobody else is going to come by and close them. We are drastically changing their life forever. And that's what that chest line shows us. Is that we need to be giving more thought to the chests and how they feel. So here we get Noelle. She's entirely useless, unfortunately. For now, anyways. She'll be useful a little bit later. But we're basically going to take her weapon because it sells for good money. So here we have a fight where actually... No, okay, that works. We're not typically strong enough to win this fight, but if you get a crit like that, you actually can kill it. I should explain turn bonuses. Basically, there's a number of turn bonuses you can get in this game. Stuff like HP recovery, EP recovery, and CP recovery. There's also guaranteed crit bonus turns. In some areas, there's some extra ones, like this one, that's a guard bonus turn, meaning any attacks done on that turn will do 0 damage. Both yours and the enemies. It's not always a good turn bonus. Death Blow, which just instantly kills an enemy if they're vulnerable to it. There's the Sepith Up bonus, which I'm always looking for because you get more Sepith when you have a Sepith Up bonus. Like, the amount of hits you do in an animation determines how much Sepith you get. So, using Lloyd's S-Break that has a lot of hits on a Sepith Up turn gives you the most amount of Sepith possible. And then there's also Vanish, which is a stat effect that removes a character from battle for a set amount of turns and drains their MP to 0. So this is another instance where my notes are great. That chest says, grab the chest where Risha's weapon is. Risha's weapon is only there in Ao. In this game, it's an EP2. But they're in the same spot, so instead of describing where it is, I just say, get Risha's weapon. Yeah, everything is dying on the overworld because if you're 10 levels higher than the average level of the encounter, it will die to a field attack if you hit it twice. We got to level 36 in Chapter 1 by using a game exploit to do a fight to get very high base experience, and then use an EXP modifier that we farmed up to break the experience cap, and just power level us 30 levels into the future. There's an exploit with the Geofronted at the very beginning, but that's done in the glitch route, because you have to glitch through a wall to do that. This run uses the palm. So this fight, Yin can be a jerk and just instant kill Randy. That did not happen, which is nice. But we're just going to buff up Lori with Forte here. We're going to use the Star Blast combo craft. And then we're just going to break with everyone. Bully. So apologize for no inevitable struggle there. So here we are now at the concert where we dealt with the threatening letter, and that boss we just fought was the supposed sender of it. Yin, the master assassin, who works for Hayue, one of the groups opposing the Mafia, that we deal with a few times in this run. And so now we're just patrolling around the play, making sure there's nothing suspicious, and we're going to do this 3 times. And then the chapter's going to be over. But we get some good music to do it too, so it's all good. So, in a little while here, I hope there's a mod around and that polls are enabled in this chat, because I'm going to want a poll to be started for who we're going to pick as the partner for the intermission. The partner for the intermission literally does not matter or change anything, but yeah, still going to do it. Alright, so I'm going to use this opportunity to use the bathroom as well, since it's a long cutscene. That was okay. So here we have Poyo. Unfortunately, we don't get to play Poyo in this game. You get to play Poyo in the next game, though. Also, there we find out that Risha is actually Yin. So the dancer who was in the play is also a master assassin. Seems fine by me. So here we're going to only check the required request, because I learned recently you don't have to check all the requests. You can just check the required one, and the game lets you get away with that. So, for those who are part of our community and know the meme of our Lord and Savior Bruhfish, we are going to include him in this run. He is not forgotten. If any of the community members want to post a Twitter timeline for the Bruhfish, that's totally okay. Because everybody should educate themselves on Bruhfish, because Bruhfish is awesome. So we're going to open all of Tio's slots there so we can get her some magic later on. So for those who don't know about the Bruhfish, basically the Bruhfish is one of the fish in this game, and it's a complete meme we've made, whether or not to call him Bruhfish or Bass Pog, because he's both making a Pog face and a Bruh face. The community has settled on Bruhfish, and it's become such a meme that we had the company Pin Limited ask Falcom if they would be allowed to make a pin of Bruhfish. Falcom came back and said, "What is Bruhfish? What do you even mean? This is not our fish. We didn't make this." That was met with a little bit of meme backlash from us as fans. So eventually we did educate Falcom with the help of the Geofront on Bruhfish. And they gave the okay for us to make a pin. There's a whole timeline that explains it better, but we're going to catch ourselves a Bruhfish. This is technically slower, but we got to do it for the meme. This, my friends, is Bruhfish. We did it. We caught him. We caught the Bruhfish. So, even after the pin was allowed to be made, the meme didn't end there. I took it a step further and did a speedrun called Bruhfish% of this game, which is just catch Bruhfish as fast as you possibly can. Crap, where am I going? Going to Harbor District. It takes 20 minutes. It's a 20-minute speedrun, and if I'm ahead enough at the end of this run, ahead of estimates, we might actually get to do a Bruhfish% run. But you know what? I didn't stop there. I had another bad idea. I did a category called Bruhfish no Kiseki, which was catching Bruhfish in every single Trails game that he's a part of, which is Trails from Zero, Trails to Azure, Cold Steel 1 and 2. So I did a speedrun of all of those 4 games to catch Bruhfish, and it takes about 3 hours and 45 minutes. So here the downtown gangs were fighting again. We put a stop to them with a competition between us, the Bracer Guild, and the gang members. And we won because we're protagonists. So here I'm going to go to entertainment and then the administrative to be put right next to the police station. Here we're going to start down the food addiction that's pretty common in Kiseki runs. We're going to buy 21 cans of coffee, because that is a completely reasonable amount of coffee to buy at one time, right? 21 cans. I don't know about you, but I need at least 20 to wake up in the morning, even though I don't drink coffee. What am I doing? So the reason I buy coffee is because coffee restores CP, and there's going to be some points in this run where I need CP, but I can't go take a nap. So unfortunately, I have to rely on having items to restore my CP. So here we have to talk to all these passengers. We're trying to track down a trader who has been importing fake goods in the Crossbell because, you know, Crossbell is bad at making laws. And we're going to catch her. And she's going to get away because, well, we're going to catch her and we're not going to be able to do anything to her but slap her on the wrist and say, hey, don't do that. Because Crossbell is really bad at making laws. But, casually, this scene coming up is one of the funniest scenes in the game. Because this old woman, who's nice as a button and sweet as hell, you call her out and she starts screaming and swearing at you. It's like, I'm totally allowed to do this. There's no laws against it. You guys suck. And, she's right. We have no laws. We are very bad at making them. head down to see Jonah. So now Jonah lets us know that, you know, because hacking is totally legal, somebody else is hacking into businesses and all this other stuff, aside from him. Because, you know, we didn't really stop him from doing it, we just told him, hey, don't actually do anything bad. But, you know, he's still hacking in the places, because we can't do anything about it because there's no laws. But he's like, hey, somebody else is doing it too, you should go stop them. And we're like, well, alright, fine. Yeah, you can get this game on the Falcom website and Amazon. I believe they have it restocked now. I'm not entirely sure, but I checked and it looked like it was restocked. But you can also get a digital copy off of DL sites, and I mean, there is unsavory stuff on DL site, but that's kind of like your fault if you click on that. But you do have to use the Japanese version of DL site. It's not on the English version. Oh, Falcom's not even shipping? Okay. Well, that would make sense. But yeah, you can get a download off of DL site that's completely legal. But again, you have to go through their Japanese page. You can't find it on the English version, as far as I'm aware. But, I mean, if you're using, like, Chrome, you can just translate the pages anyways. And yeah, the Geofront patches also have instructions on how to get the game legally. So here we are back in that bottomless pit of a Geofront again, because, you know, all of the computers and hacker things are in the Geofront for God knows why. Why do we keep highly sensitive information unguarded underground? I don't know, but sure. But this is basically the Tio and Lloyd adventure. I don't even remember what our other party members are doing right now. But we're just gonna say they're doing something useful, I hope. But there's really not much to say. We're just gonna go through here, grab these two chests along the way. One of them is for money, one of them is a status protection item that we'll need for later. So that really cool hacker sequence is coming up. It's a really imaginative sequence for like how you could do hacking as like a 3D modeled type of thing, since it's really just, you know, typing on a computer. But it's really well done, but we're going to see like, you know, half a second of it because we're going to be going through the cutscene so fast. Oh, perfect. Stolz is here. He can do the pull when we need it. Alright, so here we have another fat Batman. And he's dead. Joker got rid of him. So here's the hacker scene after a heartfelt one-to-one with Tio and Lloyd. What's up? You're only an anime protagonist if you have toast in your mouth right now, Stolt. But basically we find out Tio's backstory there, how Lloyd's brother rescued her from some unsavory conditions she was in, that we'll get into. Actually, we probably won't get into a little later due to the nature of them. There's a lot of Unfortunately, there's a lot of content in this game that I'm not really going to talk about because it's some of the most dark content I've ever experienced in a video game. And therefore not really appropriate for this channel. So here we're going to set Tio up for doing some really strong magic attacks. This is the day, by the way, where if we were playing the glitched run, we would clip into the final dungeon. You would just have to get to this point in the run, and then we get to the final dungeon. Unfortunately, we're not doing that category, so we've still got another good hour and a half of game to go through. So we're going to learn that some Taurus are under attack in an ancient battleground. But before we go and save them, we're going to take a double nap. Because if you're going to go save people's lives, you have to take 2 naps before you do it. And the poll is going to be intermission partner Stolt. So Randy, Tio, or Ellie. Because, again, Schwartz auction partner needs to be Tio. Okay, so we're coming up to our next chest line that we're going to read, and this one's one of my favorites. We actually have a chest that's a bit of a boomer. So, be sure to cut him some slack. Back in my day, we had to work hard for our Curie bombs, and we definitely wouldn't have 99 of them in our second fleet. No siree. Okay, boomer. Chest. And immediately following that one, we actually, I think this is the last chest line we're going to do in this run. It's this one, with the hit 3 in it. How did you even see me? I just knew, Mr. Chest. I just knew. So on that last screen I was in, if I had gone the other direction at that split at the very start, it would have taken me to the final dungeon. There's 2 gates in the way, but those gates are sprites because they're meant to move and open. They're not solid walls like these. So you can use the glitch to clip right through them and straight into the final dungeon. The grass chest is really good too, David, but I don't remember which one that is, and it's not in the speedrun route. So I think it's on East Crossbell Highway 2 at the very top or something. Alright, so this is the first fight where you're going to start seeing some magic in. S-crafts aren't enough damage anymore, so we have to start using some magic with Tio in order to do our damage. So we just gave her the strongest wind spell in the game, and that'll probably get us there, right? And it got us there. No problem. So, now that we've saved the Taurus, we gotta take another double nap because we're really tired after we save them. Alright, so now we have best crossbow theme for a little bit. Get some money. We're gonna buy 5 more of those ultimate mixes for later. And then, remember that pink-haired guy we dealt with in the first chapter? Totally friendly dude? He is a friendly dude, but we're gonna help him out because his child got lost here. So we have to do actual investigative work for a change, and go around and talk to anybody who might have seen this little kid. So, while I'm doing this, I'll explain Estelle and Joshua a little bit, because a lot of people may not know. In this game, Estelle and Joshua are kind of guest characters. Like, they're here looking for Ren. And you deal with them a few times in the story, but in every single state change of the game, meaning anytime something happens with the world in this game, or like a different day, or a different like scene where Crossbell has changed in some way, or something has changed in some way, Estelle and Joshua are somewhere in the world, and you can talk to them for more lore and like world building, and like they're actually actively out doing things. Like they're not just sitting around or not in the city at all. Like you can at any point in the game literally go and find them and talk to them and see what they're up to, which I think is really freaking cool. So, now we meet this pink-haired girl named Ren again, and she's totally not related to the pink-haired man we're helping out right now. No, sir. Absolutely not. Ren is just a normal little girl who's happy and sunshine and rainbows. Totally nothing bad with her. I promise. So here we're going to buy some EP healing items, because now that we're using magic, we literally only have one cast of that spell before we need to heal our EP, because it's so powerful. So we need to buy some EP charges. And then, to go along with our food addiction, we're going to buy 8 massive burgers called King Burgers. King Burgers are probably the best CP item in literally the entire series, because they're buyable and they restore 95 CP. They're extremely expensive though, so we could only afford 8 of them. But, I mean, there's going to be points at this run where we're just going to say, shove this giant burger into your face twice. And that's how we're going to be getting through boss fights, is we're going to down some coffee. We're going to down like 14 cans of coffee and 2 burgers. And that is going to be how we beat boss fights. So this investigative sequence is basically just talking to a bunch of specific people. There's no real order you have to do it in, so we just do the order that's best for movement. I mean, if I'm being honest, this run, and yeah, this run in general just leans on the power of coffee, burgers, and naps. That's all we do in this run, is nap, eat coffee, or drink coffee and eat burgers. And somehow everything dies to that. So, through our investigative work, we find out that the missing kid somehow jumped into somebody's car. I mean, we don't really know why, but that is what happened. He just kind of got in somebody's car, because apparently stranger danger doesn't exist. Because it's Crossbell, and laws maybe kidnapping kids is legal in Crossbell, I don't know, they don't have good laws. Sure, there's some way you could probably get around it. So here in my notes, we have another great note that's just for me for speedrunning. It says, grab normal 7th chest from Outrout. Doesn't tell you where it is, but I know exactly where it is because I've ran out. It's this one right here. No, make Crossbell great again is, that's in Ow, that's not in Cold Steel, or in Zero. But, yeah, the second game, Ao no Kaseki, which, who knows, you might be seeing from me in a marathon pretty soon here. It's hard to say. Has a lot more depth to Crossbell and its problems. This game is just Mafia bad. Mafia bad, gangs bad, children in boxes bad. Oh, sorry, I forgot the main one. Drugs bad. Yes, Tio is good. Tio is always good. So here we're going to save the kid from getting attacked by wolves by doing nothing. And the wolves are just going to close in on us. Except for, I don't know why that guy sometimes doesn't come in. He just doesn't do anything sometimes, and I don't know why. Wow, he actually lived. Bye. So, we find out Ren and the kid we saved are brothers. Or brother and sister, which means Ren's parents are the purple-haired man from earlier. And we figured out that, well, he kinda sold her? Or not sold her, he was in some bad times and gave her to a friend. And that friend was not a friend. That friend should not have been trusted. So anyways, Ren gives us a ticket to the Black Auction, which is where the Mafia is doing shady things. And we're going to go figure out what shady things they're doing. And that's also basically the extent I'm going to talk about Ren. Because, again, the content of Ren's story is not appropriate for this channel. So here we're also going to meet one of the best characters in the series, one of my personal favorites. His name is Lecter, and he gives no hex about anything, and I love it. It was this game in particular that made me absolutely fall in love with him. So he's going to the Black Auction too, but on the way over, he's just, playing a ukulele on this boat. Because he can. Later on, we're gonna see him in the mansion where the black auction is going on, and you know, because he can, he's going to catch a fish in this guy's pond inside of his mansion. He's he's literally going fishing inside of another person's mansion for sport. Because why not? So here we just kind of have to go around. This is the technical rich area and amusement park of and beach area, like just an overall resort area in Crossbell State, and it's where the Black Auction is being held. So we're kind of just exploring it. Tio is in love with the amusement park mascot Mishi, which is also Falcon's mascot. But unfortunately, we can't go to Mishiland. You do go to Mishiland now, though. You also get a nice beach scene. And it's very anime. So here we meet up with Wazi, who's one of those downtown gang leaders. Apparently he's high class enough to be also invited to this exclusive members invites only black auction of illegal things. So here we're going to put on disguises so they don't recognize us, and we're going to take Tio because she's the best girl ever. But moreover, we're taking Tio because she actually has magic and can do a lot of damage. And we'll also be learning in this section that Wazi is a playboy. Literally comes here with some married woman, and then they meet, the married woman meets her husband having a flirt with someone else, and Wazi tries to get in on it because, you know, you don't care. Alright, Stold, if you could start the poll, by the way, between Randy, Tio, and Ellie for intermission partner, that would be great. Oh, I thought you were going to use, like, Twitch's poll system. But yeah, this theme is really great. So here, we're going to see Lecter, and he's going to catch a fish. Either way, if you could watch the results of that poll and let me know when we're fighting Garcia. So there's a bunch of locked rooms and boarded off places that we're not allowed to go to. Makes sense because, you know, we're just guests here. We don't have a warrant or anything. But here we almost get caught by Garcia because he recognizes us. But Maribel Croyce from a little while ago, who's Ellie's friend, notices us and saves us from that fate. She's got some special stuff going on with her, but that's out content, so we're not going to worry about it here. So we determined that the Mafia is acting strange because there's an intruder who broke in. And now we're about to go meet the best girl in the game, Box Lolly. Because if you aren't keeping your lollies in a box, then what are you doing with your life? And despite Crossbell not having good laws, slave trading is illegal, so them having a little girl in a box is kind of a bad thing. Also, sour please. These noises! So this part is amazingly cute because Lloyd is actually going to be carrying Kia the whole time. I do need the UP charge. So we're literally trying to escape from the Mafia with this little girl in our arms because, you know, this is a great game. So Wazy comes pre-equipped with a bunch of quartz and all of his slots open, so we're going to be using him for some magic. Because magic's just a really fast way to deal with these fights. So here we're going to get cornered in this room from the Mafia, but Lecter's going to save our bacon. Because he caught that fish earlier, he made friends with the cat, and the rustling noise that was us, that the Mafia heard, was actually just the cat. So, thanks, Lecter. Also, we took a nap on the dude's bed, because even though it's a crisis moment, we need to take a nap. I told you, no crisis is too important to not take a nap on. So most of these fights are just used Ozzy's Avalon Gate and Tio's Thunder Cyclone, and then heal their EP after the fight. Since we're still so freaking over-leveled, we just have absurd amounts of magic damage. Since magic damage scales way more off of your level than your physical strength. Want to just rest there? Because you can't use the hotel during the sequence. Whoops, I just broke with Tio. So I wasn't supposed to break with Tio there, but hopefully it won't matter because of that trip. Alright, it might have mattered. Alright, it might have mattered a lot. Okay, we're fine. Alright. A little bit slow because I accidentally broke with Tio there, but we're fine. Alright, so who's in the lead for the poll? Is it Tio still? So we successfully escaped with Box Child. And now we clothe and cherish the Box Child. But Box Child is still a mystery, so we're going to take the Box Child around to a bunch of different places to try to find out more about her. Because apparently the Mafia didn't even know there was Box Child in that box. So we learned that the Bracer Guild doesn't know anything about her, but they're keeping way more of an eye on the Mafia now because, you know, she was discovered at the Mafia's auction, and they're now suspected of slave trading, which they weren't doing. They didn't know either, but, you know, it's not a good position for them to be in. She apparently has no memory, so we're going to come to this church, which is basically, like, medical science part 2 of this world, and deals with supernatural stuff. And try to get her memories back, and that didn't work. So, unfortunately, we've just got this adorable, cute little girl with no memories, and we're just going to start taking care of her. But first, we're going to go head to a doctor's office to make sure she's fine, you know, physically. Yeah, if you're not... What are you doing if you're not checking your boxes for lolies? Like, come on. It's not optimal mode of travel for them. So, Kia doesn't want to stay overnight at the hospital for testing. So, she runs away from us and is a stubborn little girl. And we're like, alright, well, fine. I really don't care for them either, some number. Like, they're okay, but it's just, it's really weird to me. They're just really freaking weird. Yeah, I wouldn't want to spend the night with Yokaim either. So, Yokaim is the big bad of this game, but you don't know that yet. Also, here we meet up with Noelle again. She's going to assist us on our tasks today, because the army wants us to go and investigate this really temple that's haunted by ghosts because it's starting to act up. Because, you know, what state doesn't have eerie temples haunted by ghosts? Like, come on, that's a prime tourist attraction. I don't know about what you're talking about. And since she's part of the army, she actually has a car, and the car takes us to exactly where we want to go, which is nice. There'd be about like a minute or so of extra movement if we had to take the bus. So here's this really creepy, eerie temple. There's been reports of weird stuff going on, so we're here to investigate. And since we have Noelle... Oh, I forgot to rest. Uh-oh. That's really bad. Alright, hold on. Here. Okay. I forgot to take a nap, so we're gonna have to do that again. I also need to sell my time and space 7. There we are. Alright. Now we go to the temple. Again. Alright, you get to live this time. Not gonna chase you. You're not worth it. My money is fine enough that I don't need to chase that guy. Sieg's the Grandmaster. There's so many good memes for who the Grandmaster is, but then there's also, like, the serious ones that just don't make sense. Obviously, guys, like, come on. Bruffish is the Grandmaster. There's literally no other candidate. It was a gluttonous bass the whole time. Alright, so we entered the temple, and there's going to be some spooky ghosts in here. So if you get spooked easily, now close your eyes, because spooky ghosts. That, you know, explode when you kill them, because that's what ghosts do, right? They explode. So the mobs in this area are very weird. As I was mentioning earlier, if things are like a lower level than you, significantly, they'll run away from you in fear, but it's all based on the enemy's average level of the formation. Formations are set when you load a room. So like that skull right there has a set formation as soon as I loaded that room. And every time I get an encounter or reload the room, it'll change. And things in here, depending on the formation, they'll either run from you or they won't. So it's literally impossible to predict enemy movement in this dungeon. So you just kind of have to act like they're all going to chase you, and if not, you have to hope they're not going to be an idiot and run into you by trying to run away. Like, it'll be different every single time you run through this dungeon, whether or not... See, that was a case where the guy was actually low enough level to run away from me, but, you know, instead of running away from me, he actually ran straight into me, because this game doesn't have turn radiuses for enemies. They take so much to turn around and actually flee, so sometimes they just run straight into you when they try to run away. But yeah, you absolutely cannot predict enemy movement in this dungeon. Fortunately, this is the only dungeon that's like this. Any dungeons from here on out are just too high level. Because we're actually getting close to the end of the game. So enemies won't be running away from us anymore. And we can't field kill stuff. So here we're going to use everybody's favorite tsundere, Noelle. She's not even a tsundere, she's just not honest with her feelings when she should have been. And because of that, she becomes Lloyd's slave. And I'm not even joking. You literally enslave Noelle in the second game, more or less. But we're going to use her here because she has Law Forte and Mass Break. And that's all we need for this fight. So we're going to buff up her strength. We're going to move Lloyd one tile forward because that's important. And then we're going to Burning Rage into S-Breaks. And that's a dead boss. And then, since we've now done the fight, Noelle is useless to us, so we're going to disarm her again. We're going to steal her weapon. Because her weapon actually sells for a lot of money. And that's, you know, Now that we don't need her for combat anymore, that's all she's good for, is just giving us a weapon that sells for money. You actually have to manually equip it, because unlike, who's in... Okay, there we go. Unlike like, when party members leave your party member, or your party when they're guests, they'll give you their quartz, their armor, and their boots, but they won't give you their weapon, because they're jerks. And the game is like, why do you need their weapon? You're never going to get them again, because they're just a guest character. But if you take the weapon manually, you actually get to keep it. And it turns out their weapons sell for a considerable amount of money. So they're pretty useful to take when we need money in the late game. So much so that forgetting to take them can actually really, really mess you up and lose you some time. Because you have to do a lot more selling and figure out what you can and can't sell. So here we get a call from the mountain village again, saying, hey, one of our miners has just completely vanished off the face of the earth. And generally speaking, that's not a good thing. Usually you don't want people disappearing off the face of the earth, so we're going to go look for him. And he was last seen in the casino, and it turns out that he won big, because he had ungodly luck. And by ungodly luck, I mean he was cheating. But we don't really know why he was cheating. He just seems like he's super lucky for now. So we can't really do anything about it. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention earlier, when we solved that whole wolf crisis, we got a giant wolf as a pet. And he just kind of chills out with us now. Because, you know, that's cool, right? Unfortunately, he doesn't really do much until the second game. He will be riding on top of a car a little later from now, though. That's pretty cool, right? So here we're going to question Hyue about why they were attacked and if they know anything about Kia. And then we find out the Mafia's all on high alert for some reason. What? Oh, okay, whoops. I don't go here yet. And then we're going to talk to that reporter again, because, apparently she might have information about what's going on between the Mafia and Hyue, which is basically the Chinese Mafia. You've got the Crossbow Mafia, and then you've got the Chinese Mafia trying to push in on their territory, and they don't like that. I forgot to do it earlier, so we're gonna take a rest here, because naps are important. And then we get a call from the casino that the miner dude, is going freaking insane. Because he's losing. And he's losing to Lecter, because Lecter is amazing. And then we find these blue drugs and pills on the miner's possession, and we're like, what the hell living heck are these? So we're gonna go discuss them with our chief, and then take them to the hospital to for some diagnosis. Ha! I didn't even think of that. So, by coming here and getting these drugs tested, we find out that there are a special pill called Genosis, which greatly enhances your physical and mental abilities. And for whatever reason, it also makes you really freaking lucky, which is why that guy was winning big at the casino. And, you know, we don't know how these are being spread. We don't know who's distributing them. We don't know where they came from. But we know that there's been weird people doing weird things in Crossbell, and we're going to try to investigate the source of these pills. Because it's bad. Don't do drugs. Okay? So, poor little Teos gets a little exhausted here from all the stuff going on, so she passes out, and then we have a heart-to-heart with her and her past, and we learn more about it and how Genosis could possibly be connected to her backstory, which we're not going to go into because it's really gritty. So here we have to go around Crossbell now and figure out... There's been, as I mentioned, a bunch of strange happenings, so we're going to investigate those and see if it's the work of Genosis pills or not. Spoiler, it is. So somebody in Arkansas is involved, some random nobles involved, the downtown gangs are involved. A lot of victims of this pill, this drug, this Genosis so far. And it's only going to get a lot worse. So here we get a call that says the Mafia's up to something strange. So we're going to head over to the Mafia headquarters, and they're just going to be gone. They upped and left. They completely vanished. Because that's what normal Mafias do, right? They just completely leave without a single trace. And now we just have to do the worst dungeon in the entire game. She is silent. Listen, fam, I'm not good at reading, alright? I'm not good at reading, and I'm not good at speaking, so... How's everyone going on time? I'm on pace for a sub 3. Right now. So we're still fine on the estimate. So this is the worst dungeon. It's a huge maze of an underground labyrinth of the Mafia headquarters. There's a lot of mobs and a lot of really tight corners and just general bad stuff in here. I hate it. I hate this dungeon so much. Alright, that's good luck. So you have to fight that mob I just killed twice. There's literally no way around him. And you want that encounter to either have one or two of them, at least on one of those fights, so that you can just kill it with Tio's S-Break. The second time around we do that fight, we'll be using Randy's S-Break there. So this guy is usually a forced encounter. You can't really get around him in any way. The music of this dungeon is pretty cool, though. Doesn't stop it from being the worst dungeon, though. And, you know, there's just AK-47s and pistols down here. Because, you know, why not? It's the Mafia, right? So that chest teases you literally the entire game, and now we finally get to it. Chest message there is the best. The chest message there says, "Huh, so you finally figured out how to get to me, did you?" So now that we've gotten, we picked up a key at the end of the pathway here, and now we have to run all the way back. I forget which chest that is, Stolt. I know we pass it in the run. We could have picked it up, but I forget which it is. I forget the quote in its entirety as well. So here's the second encounter here, so we're just gonna break with Randy. Run over some shocky floors and lose all of our health. So one in the first room. Maybe it's the Deep Ocher chest. Oops. So even though we're in the middle of a raid on the Mafia's hideout, we're gonna go take a nap. Naps are important, everyone. Ochre. Listen, I can't speak. Alright? I'm bad at words. This is a well-known thing with me. So here we're going to swap Dudley in because Ellie is bad. And by that I mean Ellie's not actually bad, it's just Dudley is okay. Thank you. So this is the actual worst part of the dungeon. You have to lure these monsters away from these switches. You know, normally you could just kill them, but killing them is slow. So I have to lure them away from the switches, stun them, run around them, and then use the switch, and then try to get back around them. And it's a huge pain in the butt and really hard. But getting like 3 or 4 encounters in this dungeon is not above the norm. This place is trash. Where did you come from? Who are you? No, I can't. Oh my god. And then stuff like this can happen where I don't even know what the enemy's positions are anymore. I'm just gonna come all the way out here. Okay. You just stay there. Ah! I can't, dude. You know what? Die. Okay. Alright, that was pretty rough. But, you know, that's just this dungeon and why it's awful. That was more awful than usual, though. Alright. So now we have the other key. But, you know, instead of being able to, like, fast travel or have a shortcut back to the entrance, now we gotta run this all the way back. Through all of these freaking mobs that can hit you. And we still gotta use all the same switches, so we still gotta lure all the mobs away. This should be a little bit easier this time, if you've noticed me. Dang it. You jerks! Oh my god. So, for the numbers there, I just... Wait, what? Oh, no, wait, no. Wrong way. Okay. I just failed a 50%, then a 60%, then a 70%, then an 80% runaway. Just so you guys are aware of how many rolls I just failed. Alright. That was the last switch. We're out. We made it out. We made it through the worst dungeon ever. Hooray. So, again, in the middle of a raid, we're going to go take a nap. Get all of our CP back. So that we can fight the boss. Whoops. Put in the keys. My time. We don't need to. Since we're super high level, we just really only need Tio to have quartz. So this guy doesn't exactly die. Wait, what? Alright, there we go. So you need to do a Thunder Cyclone and then finish it off with Tio's S-Break. And then now that Dudley's useless, we're going to take our weapon. His weapon, so we can sell that for later. That sells for like 2,000 money. So, that's actually kind of a lot. Alright, so we are now on to the final chapter of the game. We'll kit out for quartz in the final dungeon and a little bit right here. But, Tio's really the only one who needs anything. So, the Mafia's gone missing, and we don't really know what's going on, but we're just gonna get some money from this guy by selling all of our equipment. All those things we stole from our party members throughout the game, we're just gonna sell those for some money. Ooh, I never gave Battle Boost to Randy. That's fine. Alright, my money is exactly where it should be, and I'm ahead on Sepith. So we should have enough money without much problem here. The rule for this category is to only use turbo during battles and cutscenes, yes. That's because it makes it for a much easier run to follow and a much more fun run to play. So here we're going to synth a burn and a mine 2. We're going to max out Lloyd slot 1. We're going to open 3, 4, and 5. We're going to go to Tio. We're going to max out slots 1 and 2. And we're going to open Randy slot 2. Talk to this shady shop. Solve my time, space, mirage, Sepith. And we have enough money. We're going to buy 2 Silence Blues. Payment District. Take a nap quick. Alright, and that's basically the last nap we take in the entire run. Actually, no, that is the last nap we take in the whole run. No more napping. So the bus to the hospital is extremely late, and nobody can contact the hospital, so some strange stuff is going on. So we're off to go investigate. And we can't take the bus there because no one's heard from or seen the bus. And there's really good but eerie theme plays on the way. The primary suspects for distributing the drugs that we're in chase of is the Mafia. So we're kind of weirded out why they just disappeared immediately. And now why no one can contact the hospital. Because that's kind of a big deal. So we find the bus, and it's completely deserted as well, which does not look well. Oh gosh, Stoltz on and about now, Yuta. Everybody run and hide. So we get to the hospital, and we immediately get attacked by the Mafia. And we've found out now, because of this attack, that they've infiltrated the hospital. They're also being dead silent and have a dead look in their eyes, and apparently have superpowers. Basically, they've turned into zombies. So we now have a zombie apocalypse on our hands. Which, I know in my JRPGs, I love when there's a zombie apocalypse. It makes perfect sense. So here we're going to gear out for some magic to make sure we have everything we need for this next section. Gain strike to ingenuity. EP cut 3 to evade. Act 3 cast. HP 1 to 3. EP cut 1 to 3. EP 3 mine 2. It's Avalon Gate, good. Tactics. Ellie hits the bench. And I don't do formation. So now we have a gauntlet of zombie Mafia members to fight. And, you know, that's always a good plot point, right? These fights are pretty simple. We're just going to be farming CP with Randy and Lloyd. We don't really care about the damage they do. We just want to get them to 200 CP. Same with Yin. Yin's going to be casting that ultimate mix we bought way back at the start of the run on Tio, so that Tio's cast can just instantly kill them. And then if we had actually taken damage and not leveled up there to get a full heal, we would have been healing after the battle with items and arts. Also shower, please. How long does this run take without turbo? About 5.5 hours. Nice, Randy already hit 200 CP. So that's really good because Randy hitting 200 CP early means you can start getting some really fast fights once you swap an Ellie. How long it take with turbo on all the time? The glitched route uses full turbo and it's about an hour and a half of a speedrun. I think. Hour 40 maybe? It's fast, basically. Does Lloyd not have the head? No, he's got the headband on. So yeah, all these fights are pretty much the same. You just grind CP and Tio decimates them with her magic. So if a zombie apocalypse wasn't enough for you guys, we're going to escalate it a little further now. And literal demons are going to be spawning from the underworld. Because obviously that happens during a zombie apocalypse too, right? Other games, Trails games speedrun too? Yes, literally all of them. I am also the only person who runs literally every single Trails game. I've done a solo marathon of the entire series as well, which is doing first chapter to Cold Steel 3, pretty much RTA. I mean, there's also a bunch of other runners. Stolt is one. The End in here, also known as Shin, is one. I think Hobby has done a run. Mega Slayer is a Cold Steel 2 runner. We've got plenty of runners. But not everyone knows all of the games. I'm the only one who knows all of the games. You should do S-Craftless Mega Slayer. It's a great run. It's actually really fun. So now we gotta go through this hospital. We're supposed to just take the elevator to the 4th floor, but due to all the demons and destruction The elevator's been locked down, so we have to pick up this key over here for it. Yeah, I have notes for S-Craftless. There's... Oh yeah, Izuyoi. Izuyoi is also... I don't think Izuyoi's done a run yet, but he's done routes, and he's been learning. But I don't know if he's actually done a run yet. But either way, follow him anyways, because he will be a runner. I believe in him. Alright, so this is one of the cooler fights in the run. We're finally going to make use of some of the game's mechanics. Turns out that Mayor Aid from earlier is actually just freaking evil. We're going to use Burning Heart here on Lloyd to give him a bunch of buffs and make him immune to status. And then we're going to use Dark Matter to set up positioning on our enemies for later on in the fight, because they can move randomly, and that's really bad. But by using Dark Matter, we can position them exactly where we want them to be. Oh, I forgot to give Randy crap. Okay. Alright, this might be a little bad, but we should be okay. Alright, we're fine. And now we have really creepy music. And we learn about Genosis, and we learn about this weird cult thing, and a bunch of content that is redacted for this stream. Basically, evil cult, drugs, zombie apocalypse, and it's about to get worse. Because they got the drugs into the military, and now all the military are freaking zombies and mind-controlled. So that's always good. So we get saved by President Dieter and Maribel, and we're gonna make our final stand at the International Bank of Crossbell. So this is like the final point in the game where you just go around, you have your final scenes with the party members, and everybody gets set up for the end game. Do we have bonding scene? We do not. So you just gotta run around here and talk to everyone. Open TO slot 4. So if you're keeping track, that last dungeon we just did was appropriate leveled. So we finally caught up to the game where we were, like, we're appropriately leveled for the game now. We're not over leveled anymore. We're just under geared. A lot. Also music. Who breaks here? So there's 4 fights in a row here. We're not going to do them. Because you can die on this 3rd fight and it advances the story. So we're just going to set ourselves up to die as fast as possible. We're going to mute these 2 gunners in the corner because they cast arts that are really not worth our time. So what we're aiming for is these soldiers can cast a Petrify spell, and we're aiming for that Petrify to hit us. Alright, cool, it hit Ellie. So she just instant died there because of that. Alright, Randy's dead. Good. Bully me harder! Okay. Alright, excellent. We the Big Ben. Alright, Fear Beast. Well, fully closed blue. Alright, so we went back to the final dungeon. Also, if you know the trick here, don't say anything, please. I want to leave it a surprise. So we got this really super hype dungeon theme. And we also got Estelle and Joshua with us now. And since they're higher level than us and better equipped than us, we're going to clutch on them really hard. So here we're going to set up for some bosses. Also, sorry, Twitch cops. Hit 3. Cut 3, PP 3, back 3, and 2, okay. Alright. So this is our final party. We're going to use Estelle, Joshua, Tio, and Lloyd. Also, don't worry, Izayoi. Don't worry. So these fights are pretty simple, since now we have really strong magic and really good casters, because we got Estelle and Joshua. So this guy's already dead, he just doesn't know it. May or may not have forgotten exists. It does exist, as it would turn out. But yeah, this is the dungeon where you can clip into this dungeon in Chapter 3. So this dungeon is made of 4 different parts. This is part 1 of it. This dungeon is very lengthy. So just feel free to jam out to the music for a little while. Because there's really not much that goes on in this dungeon. Except for me getting really dumb encounters because the game sucks. If you hit an enemy while they're still in the animation of noticing you, your hit doesn't actually stun them. And it's really dumb. This dungeon does have the hardest boss in the game, by the way. We'll be fighting him as soon as we get into the second part of the dungeon. It's a super inconsistent fight. And if you mess up at all, you just die. Like, it's by far the hardest fight in the entire run. Like, way harder than the final boss. Also, this part right here reminds me of Shoalmance from Western Plaguelands and World of Warcraft. Just does. Reminds me of the room where you fight that bat boss. It's pretty hard casually, too. You might even say it's harder casually. Alright, so we're coming up to it, so everybody get your Blessed RNGs ready. Alright, so here's the hardest boss. Hard boss. Also, this dungeon music is hype, but let's make it even hyper. Shoot. I'm sorry, everyone. Everybody with the sour, please, please. Everybody just sour, please. No chat, just sour, please. Trap me in the corner, dude. So this is something the Geofront patch added, is the ability to swap music. And just for this marathon run, Stolt helped me set up the music swap for the Super Arrange version. So here's part 3, we've got some red Kool-Aid. That's totally what it is. It's not a river of blood, it's red Kool-Aid, I promise. Do our last slot menu of the game. Stock up on some consumables. Accidentally messed up that menu, but should be fine. I should have enough money either way. So here we have some water temple stuff. You gotta raise and lower the water in order to get by. Pretty simple puzzle, but this puzzle is the reason the glitch run works. They can use that water switch to set plot flags and fix the game after you clip into this final dungeon. Use the thing, please. Oh, it's to switch in the room with the people. Never mind. Is this a chest? No, this is still a good chest. I did my job. Now do yours. We will, chest. We will. We'll do our job. So the story right now is we're here to stop Yokheim from, you know, having turned everybody into zombies, ascending to godhood, and trying to kidnap Kia, which is the box lolly. The loop is fine. There's literally no better way to loop it. Alright, so you know those burgers we've been holding on to? The time has finally come, since we cannot take naps, to stuff our face with them. And what goes well with burgers? 2 cans of coffee. Right? Alright, now for Duel's favorite fight. Wait, did that not hit? That should have hit. Oh. That'll work. Nerd. Alright. Easy fight. Don't you not even have holy chains for that fight though, Duolf? Like, I'm pretty sure you don't have holy chains. Foreign Sepith feels fucking bad, man. You don't have that revenge building Sepith. That 200 time space Mirage Sepith chest is so big. So this is part 3 of the dungeon. As you can see, it's kind of getting more... Oh, no. This is part 4, my bad. This is part 4, the final part of the dungeon. As you can see, things are kind of getting a little more demonic and disgusting and, you know, straight out of Devil May Cry. Deeper we go. Crap. Things are going to hell a little bit. But that is, Jewel's right, that is Sky Third. So, we're coming up to the semi-final boss of the game, and, crap. Scrolling down my notes, wasn't looking. Coming to the semi-final boss of the game, and, he's a chump. Let's set ourselves up with some fire magic here, since fire magic's the strongest magic in the game. So this semi-final boss is not immune to delay, so we're just going to use Joshua's Evil Eye Craft to delay him and make sure he never gets the turn. So there's our speed down, and now we've applied 2 stacks of delay to him, so he'll never get a turn. So now we're just going to buff my magic damage and keep blowing him up with literal nukes. Good fight. Nerd. Alright, now we've got the final menu of the run. Where everybody's just going to develop an amazing coffee addiction. Dark Matter, Holy Breath, Calamity Claw, Fortuna, good. Ingenuity, E3, freeze. Genesis Flood, Holy Breath, Calamity Claw, Fortuna, good. Shadowblade, Crimson Ray. Strike, EP3, Cut 3, Shadowblade Crimson Ray. Alright. Hold on. Alright, so the final boss fight is kind of complicated. I'm not going to really be explaining it too much, but basically the idea is speed down the boss and then just keep nuking him with Crimson Rays. We're going to be doing some weird movement to avoid some of the mechanics of the fight, but that's basically what's going to be going on. This first phase, we're going to use Shadowblade and Dark Matter in order to kill these ads. Or not. Lloyd's just going to be awful at what he does, so everything's going to go actually horribly. And I don't know what to do about that. Yeah, alright, dying. Dying is what we're going to do about that. It looks like. So that right there is this marathon's, that never happened before, by the way. Alright, there we go. Better. Something is wrong with Lloyd. And I'm not sure what it is. I think I might have forgotten... No, I could have sworn I gave him the Evergreen Debaucher. I didn't use Ashcraft with Tio there. I needed to. I still can. Just keep me safe. Okay. I don't know, something is definitely off, but we should be fine. So, here, Yokai takes the red pill instead of the blue pill and turns into the giant monster. Also, sour please. That's like the worst thing that can happen. Boss submission Stoltz face, it is. Can you stop with this bullying? Like, oh my god. The bullying is so real right now. did you go that way, Tio? Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, Lloyd, you got this, bro. Alright, Tio's back. Crap, that didn't do it, dude. No. Alright, this should do it, though. Alright, GG on the final boss. Now we just have a victory lap. And as classic trail style for me, I'm gonna let the animations play. Because we gotta go full anime. Nice crit. GG. Alright, so time's coming up in just a moment here. And time. And that is Trails from Zero, mostly glitchless. I did do that glitch on the very first fight, but that is Trails from Zero glitchless. So, I'd like to let the credits play, but, I'm not going to, simply because before they cut me off, I just want to I want to show you guys what we call the Get Over the Barrier glitch. This is the glitch that we make use of in the glitch run. So remember, I made this save back here at this door. We're going to go ahead and get into this door. So the glitch works by saving, quitting to title, loading the save, and holding the direction you want to go. And you'll see in a moment here that we're going to start clipping into the door. And things get a little bit weird. You can do this with most doors in the game. And this is what lets you get into the final dungeon early. But the room I'm getting into is a bit special. Alright, we're most of the way through the door now. There we go. So there's a box in here that just says texture. This is the box that contains all of the texture for the entire game. It's all right here in this box. Why do they have a box that says texture? I don't know. But, yeah. And then, if you go up the stairs here, he's just... He's having a bad day. Let's just leave it at that. He's just having a bad day. I, too, sometimes like to stand in my chair. Not on the chair, in my chair. But, that is that. That is, Trails from Zero, the Get Over the Barrier glitch, and this run. So, thank you all for having me, and I really hope you enjoyed the run.